So, penultimate round of the SBR Classic F1 season. This week, Suzuka, full GP circuit this week. Obviously the usual, a 40-minute race, or it looks like it's actually going to be a 30-lap race for the feature race. Before that is a 5-minute qualifying, and then our sprint race is a reverse grid, which I think is roll and start as well. So championship standings, I've got the constructors this week as well, so I'll run through the constructors as well. Just to go through the drivers' standings. So Lewis Edwards leads the way. He has a 14-point gap actually over Adam Piper, 134 to 120. Ethan Graham in third. Gareth Morris, which is Moz. They're in third on 76. Closely followed by Ethan, Luke C and Dino, all tied there for fourth place. After that comes Craig Thomas, which is Osman. He follows there in, well, what would be fifth place after them, but is actually about 7th or 8th on the board. So he's on 67. Then we've got Brian Ross on 56, Stu Shelton on 35, Rob Hogan just behind Adam Morgan, which is Inca Holmes, who's on 28. So Rob Hogan on 23, Adam Morgan on 28 at the bottom of the board there, Stu Shelton on 35 just ahead of them. So there looks to be a battle on still for the top spot, 14 points and 2 rounds left, which is 4 races as we run 2 races a night. Then the battle for 4th place seems to be hotting up with Ethan, Dino and Luke C all on 70 points, but Gareth Morris in 3rd, just ahead of them on 76. So 3rd place is still up for grabs in the championship. As for the constructors, Prost lead the way, Williams lead the way on 176, 30 points ahead of Prost in 146. Then we've got Arrows in 3rd on 134, Ferrari in 4th on 95, Tyrrell and Stewart both tied on 70 points. Then at the bottom of the board we've got Jordan on 58. So still quite close for 2nd and 3rd in the constructors and for 5th in the constructors. So tonight I think we've got a full grid apart from I don't think Ethan's here tonight, so still got a battle on for first place. I'm sure Lewis and Adam are going to take the fight to each other again this week. Lewis has actually had a change of PSN name as well. He's now SMM_Vulcan. So he is still in this lobby, but he's under a different name now. A few of the guys are out there on track at the moment, setting a few practice laps. Qualifying is due to start at 8 o'clock, so I'm hoping we are running on time. So far Moz leads the way on the 39.8, but I'm sure we'll see them times come down. Just on board with Brian Ross now as he approaches 130R. Wonder if it's flat out in these cars. A little bit of a lift as he turned in there, but could be flat for a few guys at the front. Gets it slowed down nice for the final chicane. Obviously a tricky corner in these cars to get right. Going around on the super soft at the moment. He's still got quite a bit of fuel in, so he hasn't been running for that long as he's running for 3 laps at the moment. He goes on a 1:42.0, which is about two seconds off the quickest time at the moment, and a second off Inca Holmes, who sits there in 2nd place. He's been pretty impressive since he joined the championship. I think it was his first round last week, if I remember correctly, but yeah, he settled in nicely into these cars. He's just currently sitting in second place at the moment. All of these guys should be on the super softs from the start, unless anybody fancies a different strategy in qualifying. But Brian Ross just chucking the car in there to the two Degners, and he gets out, gets a good exit there. Didn't run too much curb, but he comes up to the hairpin at the top of the hill, slows the car down in first gear. Ooh, a little bit of a wheel spin as he came out there. Quick upshift to second, then third, and he's on his way again. See who else is out on track. Moz is currently out on track. He's been out for a few runs, but he's got quite a bit of wear on the front left tyre there. Rear tyres aren't showing quite that much wear, but front left definitely looks like it's been taking a bit of punishment through those S's. So qualifying due to begin, but it looks like we are a bit down on numbers as a few guys haven't showed up. So currently 9 I think we've got at the moment, but qualifying starts now. 5-minute qualifying for our first race, for the feature race, and then the sprint race is reversed of the feature race results. So although you might finish in last place, you'll be starting first for the sprint race. It always gives a few of the guys who've had a tough race at the back a chance to redeem themselves and get some good points. Guys just going out on an outlap now. We'll go on board with Dino as he gets 2 wheels over there, nearly lost it on the grass, but he manages to get the car turned in. So he heads off down further round for his warm-up lap. Looks like he's just taking it a little bit cautious. Oh, as I say that, he goes off and hits the wall. So doesn't want to be pushing too hard on this outlap. Just wants to take it nice and easy, get the tyres warmed up, get himself set for a lap. Nice blue livery there with the PlayStation logos on the side. So, looks like Moz has just come out of the pits right at the back there, so he has plenty of free air in front of him to get a lap in. So he's gone for to be the last one across the line. A few guys are just heading round the lap now. I think Dino's going to be the first one to head into 130R and be the first one to start a lap. So we'll go on board with Dino and see what sort of lap time he can do. So Dino just crosses the line now. Ooh, gets across the grass there on the straight. A little bit of concentration lost there from Dino. Gets the car turned in, takes quite a lot of curb there. Chucks it through the S's, a little bit of understeer through the first part. That'll compromise him all the way up here. Tries to redeem it by taking a wide line in, puts it nice early on the throttle. Small lift as he goes through. Comes up to 2 quick corners here. 50, just after the 50 metre board, just stops down at the 5th. Takes quite a lot of curb again. A bit more cautious on the exit there as he did on his outlap. He went into the wall, so he's a bit cautious there. Uses a bit of the overtake into the hairpin. Might use a bit more to come out of this and get him good. Uses second gear there in the hairpin. We've seen Brian Ross use first and struggle a bit, but Dino goes for second gear and tries to cut the traction. Long sweeping left-handers, got to be careful not to commit yourself too early, but he gets it nice there. Should have a good exit as he uses more of the overtake button. Up into 6th as he approaches 130R. Does Dino take it flat? Yeah, flat for Dino, gets the car nice in there, carried a lot of speed. Gonna get the braking right for the last chicane. Pretty tidy lap here from Dino, so it should be a good time to set. Got plenty of time to go for a new one. Yet more overtake button, and it's a 140.8. Brian Ross is the next one to come across the line. He goes at 140.8 as well, so close between them two. Luke goes top with a 39.7, so that's a good lap from Luke. Osman on a 42.5. Adam Piper 38.6. Inca Holmes 40.1. Moz will be the next one. He's so far on a best lap. So we'll see where Moz is going to come in. Looks like Lewis is behind him as well. So Lewis has decided to be the last one across the line. So we'll have to hurry up. Might only get one lap in. Moz cuts across the chicane. Straight lines it. Gets a good exit. Pulls towards the wall to get a better run to the line, and it's a 38.7, 0.074 off pole position, so close between the two guys. They're going to have one more lap to try and improve now. Luke C there in third, so don't know if he's going to go for another lap. He's been a bit compromised there from Stu Shelton. Stu Shelton looks to be moving over the side, but he lets Luke go. Real Osman using a bit of overtake there. So Adam Piper another lap. He's actually behind his teammate, I think. No, he's not behind his teammate, but he is getting a nice toe off Osman there. All the way down into 130. Yeah, 2 tenths, well nearly 3 tenths off his own lap. He actually backs out of it. I think that's him done for the time being, so we're not going to see an improvement for him. But Lewis is on his way, chucks the car in. Ooh, carries a lot of speed through there. Does well to deal with the car. You see Inca Holmes goes quicker on a 39.3. So it looks like Lewis on what is going to be his only lap. Looks like he's going to take pole position if he can keep it together. He's only got one more sector to go. After this is his last lap. He uses a bit more overtake. Carries a car, 2 wheels on the curb there, gets the car nice and turned in, tight there. Takes good exit curve, and that's great speed carried through there from Lewis. Gets the upshift to 6 and uses a bit of overtake to help that run into 130R. See what his sector time is, 1.1 seconds up. Just has one more corner to make. If he can get this car chucked in, he does. Settles the car nice and early, run towards the line. What's this going to be from Lewis to take pole position? It's a 37.5, and he takes pole position by 1.1 seconds in the end. So he really nailed that last lap. He's the last one to cross the line as well, so I don't think anybody else is going to have a chance to challenge him. And 1.1 seconds to his closest rival, which is Adam in the championship as well. A real benchmark for the guys to come after and try and beat that, but looks like Lewis is going to pick up where he left off last week, really putting in the times. So the top 3 in the championship, the top 3 in qualifying in the same order as they are in the standings, with Inca Holmes sliding into 4th. Really good qualifying from him in what is only his second race, so yeah, really impressive from him. But hopefully these guys can really challenge Lewis in the race, or else he's going to run away with it. Dino down there in 6th. I thought he might have been a bit higher up, but the lights are going to go out any moment. The engine notes are rising. See who gets the best start. Oh, a bit of creeping there from Luke. That's going to be a false start. The guys are off now. Vulcan gets a really good start. Adam has to pull in behind. Vulcan covers him off on the inside down at the first corner. Adam's going to try and sweep it around the outside. Oh, he does great overtake, but they're going to go side by side. Adam still has the inside line. Lewis has to concede the place, pulls in behind. Inca Holmes up to 3rd, Moz down to 4th. Dino up into 4th as well. Moz is down to 5th, so Dino from 6th place on the grid, he's got 2 positions, and Inca Holmes managed to find himself in 3rd. So the 2 front guys are battling still. Adam gets him off the line, pulls it nice and tight into the corner there. On board with Vulcan, and he looks to the outside. Inca Holmes is getting close on this battle. The top 3 seem to have pulled a little bit of a gap. Frowny holding Moz up in the background. As Vulcan looks like he's going to go round the outside. Adam has the inside for the next two corners. Adam does dive on the brakes to make contact wheel to wheel. Still there on the outside. He manages to hold it. There he goes. That's through now. Inca Holmes has got a good run on these two. So Inca Holmes might have a chance to try and get him on the fight here. Adam doesn't look for it through 130R. He does now as Lewis goes wide. Adam has the outside line. He brakes late and goes for it. Slides the car in. Manages to keep it, and Lewis has to go into the back of him to avoid there. But Inca Holmes has lost a bit of ground, and now Moz and Frowny, the two teammates, are closing in on him. Vulcan pulls towards the inside, uses a bit more overtake there. Adam has to pull in behind to make their way through the second corner. Oh, as we see, is that Frowny who's gone off there? Looks like Moz. Moz is down to 6th now, so third in the championship. Moz is down to 6th. Stu Shelton moves up into 5th. Luke C's lost a few positions on the first lap. He's down to 7th, but we see now that Lewis has got that position back, he's really starting to get his toe down. Gap's already up to half a second at the moment. Really trying to get away. He goes a little bit wide, and that's going to bring Adam closer. See, the gap's just starting to drop a little bit. Brakes. Oh, nearly goes into the back of Lewis there. I think there's a little bit of a touch there from Adam. Just completely got his braking wrong into that hairpin. See what the battle's like behind. We've got Moz and Stu Shelton. Stu Shelton really pushing Moz. After getting him a lap ago, Moz come back through, but Stu Shelton's keeping him in his sights. I just noticed that Inca Holmes seems to have dropped out of this top 8 now. So the battle at the front, still just half a second. Just creeps it up a little bit, and he's got a good exit out of that final chicane. He comes across the line of the fastest lap of a 39.7 at the moment, so 39.7 from Lewis on the first flying lap, and Adam just closed on him a little bit down the straight there. Just used the toe and maybe a little bit of boost to get closer to Lewis there. Stu Shelton just lost touch with Moz, but he's now got Luke C all over the back of him. So he's just got to keep it nice and tidy through these S's. Yeah, Inca Holmes quite a way behind the pack. I don't know if he's had an off somewhere. Certainly looks, he's 3 seconds off Brian Ross in 8th, so he definitely had a mistake somewhere. His second lap's at 1:52, so yeah, definitely something happened to Inca Holmes on that last lap. Real Osman in 7th. Just chasing down Luke C. Got a battle between the teammates now for 3rd place. Will Frowny let Moz go, or will he fight him? Moz obviously fighting for the championship. Still has a mathematical chance of getting it, I think, but realistically he wants to cement that 3rd place. Oh, he nearly runs in the back of his teammate. They're going to go side by side towards the 130R. But Moz thinks better of it and pulls back in. These guys want to be careful. They don't want to hold each other up, because Stu Shelton and Luke C are right there as Moz takes a dive on the inside. Frowny has another look through the next part of the chicane, but Moz got that move done with a nice dive down the inside. And as you see, Lewis goes quicker on a 138.8 now, so he's starting to really pull away now at the front. Frowny just chases Moz now. The two might sort of work together to try and get away from the pack behind. Certainly looks like Moz is the quickest of this pack at the moment, as he's managed to drop down to 6th, and then he's worked his way back up into 3rd now. Frowny just needs to keep the pace with Moz and maybe try and pull away from Stu Shelton, as Luke C looks like he's going to have a go at Stu Shelton. Might try and line him up for the hairpin. Doesn't get a good enough run through that corner there, and actually loses touch with Stu Shelton a little bit. Might go for a dive on the inside, certainly close enough. He does, but Stu Shelton just covers him off. And they carry on for another lap. There's only two really hard braking zones on this track, and that's the hairpin and the last chicane. So if you want to go for a dive, they're the two places to do it. Everywhere else is sort of medium to high speed corners. It looks like he's got a good run off that corner there. He might use a little bit of overtake. He hasn't used any so far. Pulls to the inside of 130 yards. Stu Shelton defends. Good driving there from Stu Shelton. Good defensive driving. He's not letting him have any inch of the track. Puts him on the outside of the chicane. He won't overtake round the outside of there. So Stu Shelton keeps his 5th place, but he compromises his exit a little bit there. Luke's gonna look to the inside. Looks like Frowney in front's got a penalty, so Luke C nudges Stu Shelton a little bit. He's going to have the inside line, but Stu Shelton swoops around the outside and keeps his position again. Luke C gets a good run around the outside, not quite enough to overtake him though. 37.9 now from Lewis at the front, so he's really got the gap up. You see these two fighting hard through these S's. Not really an overtaking spot, but he gets a good cutback and just runs at the back of Stu Shelton there, and that's compromised him a bit. But Stu Shelton just doing everything he can to stay in front. He's just putting the car in the middle of the road, and so far it seems to be working, and they're actually gaining. Oh, as Luke C goes off, Osman might have a look at him here. Osman on the inside, swoops around before they get to the corner, so Luke pushed too hard a little bit there, try and get past Stu Shelton, and it's just compromised him, and now he's down to 7th. But Stu Shelton's actually closing in on Frowney in front. They're only 1.1 seconds off. Moz has checked out in 3rd place. He's got a good gap now. So Stu Shelton might actually close in on a 4th place here. Hasn't really had any results so far. Got some points on the board, but he hasn't had any results to show what pace he's got. You see now he's just lost a little bit of time to Frowney, a couple of tenths, but he's still within striking distance if he can push on. Frowney just gets down the straight there. 2 cars behind Osman and Luke. Luke, after that mistake, still there in 7th. Will look to get past Real Osman if he can. Just weaves and has a look to the inside to try and unsettle Osman, but it hasn't worked. Oh, he gets too much speed through that first corner and he's off. Luke off on the grass, he'll have dirty tyres. And with Inca Holmes closing in now. 3 consistent laps there from Inca Holmes, and he's actually a little bit quicker than Luke on the last 3 laps, so definitely closing in on the pack. Stu Shelton has just lost a touch with Frowney now, and actually Osman is he's in danger of conceding a position at the moment, as Osman's just closing in on them. Further up the road, Moz in 3rd place. Not quite sure if he can close the gap down to Adam. 4.3 seconds at the moment. His best lap on a 39.2. Adam's sort of consistent 39, so just needs to find a few more tenths, does Moz, and he might have a chance of getting a 2nd place finish here. Obviously he's a bit kinder on his tyres, but maybe pushed a bit too hard trying to get past people when he dropped down the positions, and he's actually got a little bit more wear than what Adam has in 2nd place, so we'll see what happens. We're not even halfway through the race at the moment, so we've still got plenty of time to try and catch up. There's a few pit stops to come yet, so anything could happen on the strategy. He hasn't got much overtake left though, so maybe he used quite a bit to get through the pack as he dropped down, but yeah, he hasn't got much left compared to the other guys, especially I think Luke C in 7th. Yeah, he hasn't used any. I don't know if he knows how to use it, but he hasn't actually used any overtake, as we see Real Osman right up the gearbox of Stu Shelton now. Difficult to get past anyone in these S's, but Osman's used quite a bit of his overtake as well. Stu Shelton still got just over half of his left, so Stu Shelton's still got a bit to defend with, so that'll give sort of the advantage to him, but his front tyres have take a bit of a beating. Osman's are a little bit better, but as you see there, Osman gets a good exit. Stu Shelton still there, but he's lost that position. Now Luke C's back in the fight with Stu Shelton. This battle now for a position less than what it was 2 laps ago, but he's still going to go side by side. Luke nearly runs off the track there. And Stu Shelton on the outside, that's not where he wants to be unless he can sweep it in. He does, and cuts the nose off Luke. Gets the car nice and turned in, both of them giving each other loads of racing room. Stu Shelton uses that overtake that he's got left. Luke doesn't, and I don't think he knows how to use it, so still gets on the inside, does Luke. 130 yard, they go side by side. Good driving there from these two guys, great respect. Stu Shelton still has the inside. Luke's going to go around the outside. Could get it done, but Stu Shelton's still there. Stu Shelton keeps the position, uses the overtake to enforce that. Luke gets a bit of the slipstream and finds himself on the inside, but Stu Shelton tried to defend there, and Luke come flying through. And Luke's ended up off the track, so he carried a bit too much speed again. We've seen that just a few laps ago, and that's made Inca Holmes come up into 7th place. And now he could take a position away from Stu Shelton here as he closes in. So this battle for 6 has got a bit more aggressive now as 3 drivers are fighting it out. Real Osman's found himself in 5th, and he's got a bit of a gap because of these guys battling, but he looks like he's closing on 4th place a little bit. So Inca Holmes, after dropping down the field, he finds himself in a battle for 6th, which is where he started. So he closes up on the brakes there, has to point the car away, gets a little bit of a wiggle as he came out the corner, so that will compromise him a little bit. But he's still only half a second back, so he's not too far back. If he can get a good tour down the straight, then he might have a look into the last chicane. Needs a good run through these next 2 corners. He gained on the first part. Second part, quite strong from him. He's got a good front end compared to Stu Shelton. Stu Shelton's car just wanted to run away from him a bit there. They're both in the tow. Inca Holmes is going to go around the outside of 130. He doesn't. He gets a cutback, forced onto the grass there. Gets the car stopped for the final chicane. Tries to carry a bit more speed mid-corner. Cuts towards the inside. Stu Shelton's given him the inside line a bit too easy there. Inca Holmes looks like he's moved up into 6th, and he's got that place done. He has. Luke C just behind him there. Luke C forces the car on the inside again, but that's put Stu Shelton round. So Luke C, he's done that 3 times now, so I would say would have to concede that place, which he hasn't. So Luke C should have really waited for Stu Shelton there, but the stewards might have something to say about that after this race. They will definitely look at it. Inca Holmes though takes advantage, and he's up into 6th place on his own now. His teammate Real Osman just in front of him, having a go at Frowney here. Frowney was in 4th all on his own, but Osman's really got the toe down, and he's closed in quite a bit. Osman getting a nice toe off him now. Maybe Inca Holmes can catch up with his teammate and give them a 2v1 against Frowney, but Frowney just sitting in there in 4th place. Got better front tyre wear than what Osman has behind, so that'll be something for him to take into this battle. Nobody seems to have stopped yet, so everyone seems to be taking this pretty far into the race. It might be a 2-stop this race by the looks of it. Obviously there is fuel to worry about, it's not just tyre wear, so see how many of these guys have been kind on the fuel as well. But Vulcan up there at the front got a little bit of a penalty. His times have just dropped off a little bit as well, not as quick as he was. He's back up into the 38s and a couple of 39s and a 140 there, so Adam Piper Yeah, Adam Piper's a bit slower than him at the moment. Moz hasn't really been able to get onto the back of Adam at the moment, but he is setting some consistent times a little bit, but he's just dropped off a little bit with a 40.8, so maybe that's a sign that a few of these guys might want to start pitting now as the front tyres just getting away from them. Meanwhile, Real Osman in 4th place, and Inca Holmes has actually closed in the gap now, so in 6th place, close to getting 5th place, and then might go after his teammate for a 4th place, but he gets the car nice and turned in, a bit more front end grip as we see Vulcan comes into the pits. So Inga Holmes gets a nice tour down the straight, Frowney does as well. Luke C might gain from that in 7th as well. We all get the cars turned in, but you see that Frowney nearly gets past Osman, and Inga Holmes actually has to take avoiding action there. We all nearly ran at the back of each other. Vulcan comes out of the pits, and everyone looks like everyone's pitting at the same time now. So Inga Holmes comes into the pits as well. The only person to stay out is Luke C. So Luke C looks like he's up into 2nd place now. But he is running a bit low on fuel, so he might get another lap out of it, but he'll have to be careful. Doesn't want to run out of fuel because that will compromise him quite a lot, and he might lose more time than what it's worth by not pitting. So he has Adam Piper coming up onto him now in 3rd place. Moz has pitted as well, so he comes out into 4th place. This battle between Inca Holmes has actually gained on Frowney and Osman in the pits, so I don't know how that's happened there. Osman, they've all taken the same amount of fuel on board, so Inca Holmes must have just come into the pits a bit quicker, but yeah, he's managed to gain 2 positions, but they've all put the same amount of fuel on board. But he finds himself in 5th place anyway, so once Luke pits, he'll have that 4th place on the road, but he's got 2 guys chasing him down behind. One of them is his teammate, so Osman might act as a rear gunner and protect him a bit from Dino. But Luke C might come under pressure from Adam a bit now. He's managed to make it all the way around, so he comes into pits now, so he gains a little bit on the guys by staying out. But he will have to have a tyre change and brim the tank, so that'll be a long pit stop for Luke. So we'll see where he comes out in regards to the others that he was battling with. They're just coming around the fine chicane now. So Inca Holmes comes down the straight. Frowney dives to the inside of Osman. Gets the position. Gets the move done, but he's a little bit slow on the exit, and Osman swoops back around the outside of him there. And Luke has come out not that far behind him, so Luke might have actually gained in this battle on these guys. He's pitted a lap later, so he'll be able to take his tyres a little bit longer on the next stint, but a little bit fresher than the rest of the guys, so he's got a little bit of grip at the end of this stint to attack the guys with, and he actually uses a bit of it there, and he nearly got Frowney there into the 2nd corner of that sequence there, but can't quite get it done. Frowney pulls to the inside of the hairpin. Oh, plants the throttle on the way out though, and Luke finds himself going past, and that's 6th place for Luke. Frowney drops down to 7th. Planted the throttle a bit too early there as he came out the hairpin, and it's just made him lose the back end. Meanwhile, Osman 1.6 off his teammate in 4th place. Osman sitting there in 5th, and he's got Luke behind him. Luke just having come out of the pits and looking racy as well, so Osman will be watching his mirrors more than looking at his teammate in 4th place, I think now. Moz in third place. He's got a 5-second gap to the car in front and a 13-second gap to the car behind, so Moz is pretty much on his own there in third place. Adam, same, on his own in second, and then Lewis again. Seen this quite a few times from Lewis this season, just out on his own at the front, just setting fastest lap times. Even when he's not on the fastest lap of the race, he's still faster than everybody else. I don't think anybody else is in the 38, never mind the 37.9, which is the fastest lap of the race so far, so he's doing really well at this moment. Moz in third again, Inca Holmes in fourth. It's now Luke in fifth, so Luke's actually managed to get past Osman. He's hit the 38.6 on that last lap, but that's coming out of the pits as well. So Luke really racing on this stint. A bit of a question mark over his position at the moment with that incident with Stu Shelton, but we won't find out what the outcome of that is until after the race. So for now he's just racing for his best position and see what penalty he gets after it, if he does get a penalty afterwards. He's a 10th up on his own time at the moment, so could see a time in the 39s here from Luke, which would put him on the same sort of lap times as Adam and Moz in third, so he's definitely quick enough. Yeah, 39.9, so Luke, if he can keep that consistent, he'll gain on Inca Holmes. Inca Holmes in the low 1 minute 40s on that last lap, 1 minute 40.4, so definitely gaining on him. Moz is in the high 39s as well, but he's in third and a long way away from Luke at the moment, but Luke getting his toe down. He's done a lap longer than the guys around him. Looks to be paying off as Osman now coming under pressure from Dino. Dino in 7th place. Got a good start, but he seems to have dropped down the field a bit. Finds himself there in 7th place. Looks like he's going to have another battle with Osman. As you see, Brian Ross there in 8th, Stu Shelton 10 seconds off. Brian Ross just set his fastest lap of the race at 1:40.5, so he's just setting some times on his own now. As for Luke, see what lap time he does on this lap, as he is going quicker. I think he's so far he's took about 3/10 off Inca Holmes on this lap, so he's definitely gaining. See where he comes through the next checkpoint. He's a 10th up, so there could be another 39 from Luke, as long as he gets this last chicane right. Takes straight lines that chicane a little bit there, might be done for corner cutting, but he's going to come across the line. It's a 39.7, so another good time from Luke. Yeah, he comes through that first corner out of the second corner. Him and Inca Holmes both heading into the S's. Meanwhile, Lewis has just exited the hairpin, so 29 seconds off the lead at the moment. A couple of 140s there from Lewis on that last lap, so I don't know if he's just nursing the car on this stint. Just he's got a good enough gap, so if he wants to nurse the car a bit and try and save a bit of fuel and go for a few fast laps at the end of this stint, then that might be what he's doing. He's 6/10 down in that middle sector, still up on what Adam's doing at the moment, and Moz actually looks like he's gaining on Adam at the moment as well. Still 4 seconds to find though, for Moz to get that second place, but he's definitely on the hunt. Comes across the line on a 39.8. Adam's last lap was a 39.6, so Adam's just got clawed a couple of tenths back. Lewis was in the 38s on that last lap, so still a second quicker than the two guys behind him. Real Osman there in 6th, being chased down by Frowny. Inca Holmes still ahead of Luke. The gap seems to have staled a little bit, and that last lap was a 140.1 from Luke. Inga Holmes managed to get a 140.0, which is his fastest lap of the race, so he's now starting to respond to Luke's threat from behind. Osman just a little bit scruffy as we went on board there. Just didn't quite get the car through that S's as he would want to, and that's put Frowney right on the back of him now. So he might have some defending to do towards the end of this lap. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle as he turned in there. Takes a bit too much curve and runs, and he hits the wall there as well. So a little bit of a scruffy lap this from Osman. Gets the car turned in, carries a bit too much speed and gets on the marbles. That's going to bring Dino closer to him, and gap drops just under half a second now. So we might see a battle here for this 6th place. That's just over halfway in this race, so Osman heads down the straight towards 130 yard. Dino pulls in behind him to try and get a bit of a tow. Not close enough to do anything about looking at the fine chicane for a move, but he will be close enough to have a look on the main straight. Closes up quite a bit on the brakes there. Osman got good speed through there. Dino carries a little bit less speed. Gets a tidy exit, but he's lost time there. Osman 141.5. Dino a little still quicker than he was that last lap. Oh, and Osman's got that wrong through the first corner. Just ran over the curb, and the car goes sideways on him, and he tries to save it, but manages to get it back, but Dino's gone through. Now Osman has a bit of work to do now, because Dino's now 1.6 seconds up the road. So a little bit of a gap now. Frowney was behind him by about half a second, and now he's 1.5 in front, so Osman got a bit of work to do now. Luke C in 5th has gained on Inga Holmes now, so Luke C with a 39.5 just starting to get back into a rhythm again as he closes in on Inga Holmes. Whichever one of these guys finishes in 4th place is a good result for both of them. Luke gets close to the back of Inga there through 130, and Inga Holmes giving him the inside a bit too early there, tries to turn in and cut him off, but Luke goes through. That's 4th place for Luke, 5th place for Inga Holmes, who drops down after letting him have the inside. Tried to turn in and defend it late, but Luke was already committed on the inside. Gets a little bit of a tow down the straight. He's going to have to go around the outside. He does, he braves it around the outside. Oh, can Inga stay on track? No, he goes off onto the curb, then the grass, and Luke C takes that position and drives off through the S's. Inga just tried to carry that move around the outside. It was brave of him to try and defend the position, but it's just compromised him a little bit as he drops behind. But he's still in that fight there. Meanwhile, the gap between Adam and Moz is still sort of 4 seconds, so that gap hasn't come down anymore, but the gap between Adam and Lewis has gone up to 13.4 seconds, so Lewis has got a pretty decent gap now out in front. As Adam just goes off and he makes a mistake and he hits the wall. How close is that going to bring Moz? The gap drops down now. Just into 3 seconds, and Moz can see him there, so Moz will know that he's had a mistake, so he can start piling the pressure on. Adam lost about a second with that incident, so not too much considering he hit the wall, but still a lot of time to lose when you're in a battle for 2nd place and still fighting for a championship. But Lewis's gap has now gone up to near enough 15 seconds, and as I say, that has just gone over 15 seconds, so pretty much the battle for 1st is off, and the battle for 2nd has just got more interesting between these two guys. Meanwhile, the battle for 5th between Inca and Luke is near enough over, as Luke has pulled that gap to 1.1 seconds. Frowny there in 6th. Still just ahead of Moz. Osman's not that far off him. Brian Ross in 8th. Stu Shelton sort of lost his rhythm now. His tyres have burnt up on the front. He's 14 seconds off 8th place, and pretty much his times have dropped off now, so his race has gone from bad to worse after that incident. He's finding himself right at the back on his own and not setting any competitive lap times to try and get up with Brian Ross. Brian Ross is actually in the 140s, 141s, so Stu Shelton on his own. Real Osman has lost a bit of time there to Frowny. Frowny's just ahead there in 6th place. Osman now 2 seconds back, so he's had an incident or an off somewhere in that first sector. Inca Holmes starting to chase down Luke C again. So Luke C just a second ahead now. He hasn't lost touch with him yet, and he's actually 2/10 up on this lap. Luke C goes a little bit wide through the first part. That'll compromise him through the second part of this corner, but he still manages to gain a little bit of time. So Inky was a little bit slower through that corner. Inca Holmes comes across the line for a 140.3. Luke C does a 140.0, so 3/10 on that last lap. Osman, Moz 1978, sorry, he's lost a second to Adam now, so Adam's gap is back up to 4 seconds. So that's happened on that last lap. So we saw Moz was gaining on him after he had that incident. Actually, Moz has had an incident of his own, nearly off into the wall. Just manages to get the car on the track before he hit the wall, so that gap's gone up by another second now. So it's now 5.5 seconds between second and third. So we're not seeing many close battles in this race, as Inca's lost touch with Luke says. That gap's gone up to 2 seconds, so we're starting to see a few people pulling away now. Not many close battles out on track. Stu Shelton going through the S's, Brian Ross just coming through this corner we're on board with now. So that's not a battle that we can look forward to. So we're just going to have to hope that these next pit stops bring something interesting. But Lewis comes into pits now, so 10 laps to go. The guys will be filling up the tanks again to make sure they get to the end, as Adam takes the lead of this race. Moz has come into the pits as well. So Adam running a bit low on fuel, but he's going to push this for this last lap before he comes in. And Vulcan's 11 seconds behind him. Luke C stays out again. He stayed out on the last stint, so he's got a little bit of fuel to go a bit further. Maybe a few more laps. He might end up pitting sort of 4 laps, well, sort of 6 laps before the end, maybe, depending on how he is around the next few laps. But he finds himself in 3rd place at the moment, so he'll be enjoying this for the time being until he pits. If he can just push on and try and set some competitive lap times, then he might find himself getting closer to Moz for that 3rd place, but I don't think he'll have the pace. Moz has been really consistent and in the 39s. Luke's dipped into the 39s a couple of times, but not enough to mount a challenge for 3rd place. Still to pit is Adam out in front as well, so Adam Piper hasn't pitted. Let's see what he's like on fuel at the moment. He's about empty, but he gets to the pits on 0, so his pit stop's going to be long, but starting to fill up now. Vulcan's come out of that last corner already. He's going to come across the line now, so he retakes the lead. Adam Piper still not done in the pits comes out now. Luke C's coming into the pits as well. Moz gets that third place back. We've got a yellow flag somewhere. Doesn't look like anybody's gone off though, so Moz carries on back in third place. Luke C still in the pits at the moment, so he puts the same amount of fuel as Adam Piper's put in. Inco Holmes comes down the straight now, so he's quite a way off Luke now. Meanwhile, Frowney 7 seconds behind him, with Osman 4 seconds off him, so a few of these guys have managed to find themselves gaps, but Inco Holmes will still be happy to be in that 5th place after starting 6th. It's still 1 spot up from where he started. One person who I think will be disappointed with this race is Stu Shelton. He's actually ghosting at the time now, so we might see a disconnection from him. Just ghosting at the moment. Comes across the line now, he's in the 143s. Brian Ross in 8th place is actually just tootling around. He's only 6 seconds off the next guy, so he still has a chance of getting a position if someone makes a mistake. Closest battle we've got is actually Osman closing in on Frowney, about 4 seconds, so not many guys that are close to each other. It's not making for a good race, but it just shows that these guys are starting to get a bit more confident on strategies, and a few of them are finding gaps, and not many people are actually battling at the moment. Osman in 7th place, 47 and a half seconds off the lead. Just shows you how quick Lewis has been in this race. He's 6.8 seconds ahead of Adam in 2nd place, who has come out of the pits and does a 37.8 on his out lap, so he's got a little bit of pace now. Takes the car around the hairpin. Gets a nice and tidy exit. A little bit of wheel spin there in 2nd gear, but he doesn't lose anything there. Moz back there in 3rd. Luke lost quite a bit of time off there, so he doesn't look like he's going to get any closer to Moz in 3rd place. So he looks like he's going to try and cement that 4th place, which will be his best finish of the season, I think. I'm not sure if he got a podium at Nürburgring, but he's off there in 4th place. Inco Holmes in 5th, so in what is only his 2nd meeting, 5th place is a good finish from Inco Holmes if he can stay there. Frowney still keeping that gap at 4 seconds to Osman behind, so he looks pretty set on for 6th place at the moment. Osman there in 7th. He's just getting caught a little bit by Brian. Brian 40.2 on that last lap, taking about a 1.5 seconds off Osman, so Osman needs to get his toe down. He wants to keep that 7th place, as Brian, if he keeps that 1.6 seconds up for 7 laps, he will be on the back of Osman. Stu Shelton still ghosting there in 9th place, so I'm not sure what's going on with his car. Frowney comes across the line, 141.6, so we'll see what these two guys are doing. 141 from Osman, that's a bit better. Brian 141 as well, so he dropped a little bit of time, so that 1.6 seconds that he took on the last lap is sort of staled now. Let's go up to have a look at how Luke's race is panning out now. Yeah, he hasn't set it does take Luke quite a few laps to get up to the rhythm on a new stint, so he's 140.4. It's not the best lap he's done this race, but it's still sort of around the time that he has been doing. Moz is only just in the 39, so if he can find a few tenths, he'll be on the sort of race pace of what Moz is. Adam comes across the line now, so we'll see what sort of times he's doing. He does a 40.0, and Lewis does a 38.888. So yeah, so Lewis has still got about a second and a bit in hand at the moment. So he looks like he's just starting to pull away again. 5 laps left of this race as well, so he's still got a bit of overtake as Lewis as well. So uses a little bit through there. Adam has a little bit left as well. Inca Holmes comfortably in 5th. Frowney gaining a few tenths there on Osman. Osman in turn gains a few tenths on Brian Ross, so it looks like he's responded to Brian's challenge behind. Brian comes across the line and does another 41. So Brian's back into 41, so he won't gain any time on Osman. Luke C has found a little bit of time, a 39.4. That's a good lap time there. It's 3 tenths quicker than what Moz is in 3rd. 8 tenths quicker than what Inky is behind him. So he's sort of the quickest guy at the moment, apart from Lewis. So he's the 2nd quickest guy on track at the moment. So that's good response there from Luke. He's still got 14 seconds to Moz, but he'll be pretty happy with his pace at the moment. Still depending on whether he's gets a penalty after this race for his incident with Stu Shelton, and also he hasn't used any overtake, so I actually don't think he knows that he has overtake available, or he hasn't set a button for it. But normally the guys have a button set for the overtake. It looks like he doesn't have one set at the moment, so someone might have to tell him about that. But he comes across the line. It's a little bit of a slower lap. He's actually done a 1:42. So that time he gained on that last lap, he's actually lost quite a bit of it on this next lap, as Vulcan goes across the line with a 37.7. So that's a good response to any challenge, and a bit of a marker to say to the guys behind that they're not catching him. As he's quite a bit ahead of everyone, as nobody else is even in the 38s, never mind the 37s. Frowney, he's pulled about a second on Osman now, so he's comfortably now in 6th, so he won't have to worry about a challenge behind. Brian looks like he's gained a little bit of time on Osman, about 7 tenths. It looks like we have lost Stu Shelton, as we see our race leader Lewis has got a little bit of a penalty there, so he's run track limits somewhere. Adam behind 11.4 seconds, so quite a little bit behind at the moment. Moz 7 seconds back on Adam. There in 3rd place is Moz. So none of these guys look close enough that they're going to have a battle before the end of this race. Everyone's just running their own sort of positions now, unless someone makes a mistake. I think this is going to be it till the end. But now Inca Holmes has set a 39.6, so he's found a bit of pace at the end of this race as well. So he might, if he can keep this up, he'll definitely be in for the sprint race. If we do reverse grid, he'll be starting there in 4th place in the reverse grid if we don't see that. Well, Stu Shelton will start from the back now as he's a DNF. So this could be interesting for this sprint race. There's a few of the guys now at the end of this race are starting to find pace with the car. We could see a different winner in the 2nd race, as they're all starting to run the same pace as what Adam in 2nd place is. So if Lewis does struggle to get through the field in this next race, then we might see a different winner, or a few guys battling for 1st. Hopefully a few of the guys can hold Lewis up for a bit. Frowney has lost a bit of pace now, so we might see Osman and Frowney have a battle before the end of this race. Osman has about 3 laps to get up to Frowney and have a go at him, as Frowney sets a 1:45.4 in that last lap, so he has lost about 5 seconds, well 4.5 on his previous lap. So, but then we see, looks like Osman's had an incident as well, so once one guy catches the other, he seems to have an incident of his own, and then he drops back further. So that's what's happened to Osman there. He's actually closer to losing a position to Brian than what he has gained a position from Frowney. So Brian can now see the pair of them on the same bit of road. So he's got a little bit fresher tyres than Osman, but not much. Luke C in fourth. Sets off again on another lap. We'll see what this one is. Looks like it's going to be another 39. It's 40.1 actually, but still a good lap time there. See what Inca Holmes does. He was in the 39s for one lap and now in the low 40s. So still good race pace from these guys at the moment. Lewis is sort of still out on the lead. He's gone off a little bit there though. Just went off a little bit there as Adam's got a little bit of a penalty. That gap's actually gone down to just below 10 now. Oh, Adam nearly did the same thing, just dipping a couple of wheels on the grass there. Lewis still 9.5 seconds though after that little off, but he won't want to be doing that for the next couple of laps because he might find himself losing that first place. But I think he's got enough of a lead now. So the quickest lap we've seen from him is 37.7, which is the fastest lap of the race, and this next lap we're going to see is going to be about 43.3. So yeah, 5.6 seconds off his fastest time. So definitely off the pace there on that last lap. .8 seconds is the gap now. Adam's still got a little bit of that penalty to lose. Moz 39.9 on that last lap, so he's still sort of being consistent, just running his own race. Luke goes across the line with a 39.6, so another 39 from him. Inca Holmes behind 40.4, so still another good lap time. Frowney 41.0, 2 seconds off Osman. Osman has pulled a little bit on Brian. Brian looks like he's had a slow lap on this lap and he goes off into gravel. So we'll see what he's going to do as he comes across the line of 42.7. So that gap between him and Osman's up to 5.5 seconds now. So a long way off what it was in that 2.9 seconds about a lap ago. So Osman found a little bit more pace. He's back in the 140s, quicker than Dino on the last lap as well, about a second. So he's going to try and chase down Dino. He's only got 2 laps though to try and catch him and pass him, so it's not leaving himself with enough laps, I don't think. Inca Holmes still 17 seconds ahead of Dino, 8 seconds off Luke. Looks like he has gained a little bit on Luke on this lap. We'll see what the time difference is. Oh, looks like he's actually had an incident somewhere between just before 130 out, looks like, on the 2 corners at the top of the hill. The gap's actually down to 6.9 seconds. I don't think that's going to be enough for Inky to have a look within the next couple of laps. He comes across the line of 42.7. Inca Holmes comes across the line on a 40.5. So yeah, a little bit quicker, but Luke's still got enough of a time gap ahead. As we see, Vulcan on a 38.2 on that last lap, so he's got that time back. Adam just goes around the hairpin there. There's a little bit of traction as he hits the curb, but yeah, Lewis has done a really good race, led for most of it, had to fight for the position in the first couple of laps, but he managed to do it, and when he got in front he managed to pull away. Really has been the class of the field again this week, as Lewis. He's got a sprint race to try and come through from the back of the grid, but Lewis Edwards is the feature race winner of Japan and puts one hand on the championship, so Lewis comes across the line there, so he'll be pretty pleased with his effort in that race. Adam slides the car through the fine chicane, second place for him. comes across the line. Moz, third place for him, comes across the line with a 141 to finish off. Luke C running a bit low on fuel, gets the car stopped. Spins the wheels coming out of there, as you heard. Comes across the line on a 140.0. Inca Holmes in 5th. Good race from Inca Holmes to finish in 5th. Frowny still ahead of Osman there in 6th place, so a good race from Dino. He comes into the final chicane. Osman follows him in. So that's the race ended for the feature race, and Lewis takes another victory and pretty much puts one hand on the championship for now. Still got one more race tonight, but then our final event in 2 weeks' time. So let's have a look at the race results there. Yeah, Vulcan wins from 15 seconds ahead of Adam. Moz in 3rd. Luke C with a great race there in 4th. Apart from the incident that he had with Stu Shelton, he was pretty impressed with him in that race. But 5th place is Inca Holmes, so a good race from him again. Frowny came across the line in 6th. Real Osman there in 7th. Brian Ross there in 8th, and Stu Shelton, unfortunately our only DNF, in 9th. After he had that incident with Luke C, it seemed to dismantle his race a bit, and he just fell to the back of the grid and never really looked like recovering. So I'm not sure if we'll get him back in this race for the sprint race, but he will have to start at the back of the grid anyway. He still is in the room, so he may be spectating on that the rest of that race, so hopefully he can have a better one in this race, but he will be at the back of the grid. Although he did finish at the back, but he was a DNF, so that doesn't count as a race finish, and he will have to start from the back, unfortunately, for the sprint race. Sprint race is sprint race is only 10 laps, so that's quite a bit shorter than we've just had with a roll and start reverse grid based on previous race results. So that'll be on pole position, it'll be Brian. 2nd place will be Real Osman. 3rd place Frowny. 4th Inca Holmes. 5th Luke C. 6th Moz. 7th Adam Piper, and in 8th place we have Vulcan. And if he joins in the race, we'll have Stu Shelton at the back, which it looks like he has. He's entered and gone to track, so we are going to see our 9 drivers back in this race. So Luke C is apologising to Stu Shelton, so he obviously knows that he's done something there. But if I was in Luke's position, I would have waited and given the position back just to avoid a penalty after the race. Might have compromised his race at the moment that he did, but might have saved him from getting a worse penalty after the race. But we'll see what the stewards say about that incident. Just waiting for the few of the guys to enter now. We're just waiting for Moz, Inca Holmes and Osman just to enter the race so we can get started. Guys sitting now waiting for our championship organiser Brian to set the grid. He has to set the grid and put himself on pole position, so I'm thinking he'd be pretty happy about that, but he's got 10 laps to try and defend that position with a few guys behind him that are going to be coming through, and obviously we'll get to see where Lewis and Adam finish in this race. So 10 laps this sprint race, it should see them all. They should all get to the end without having to stop for fuel or tyres, because most of them did 10 lap stints in that race anyway. So we'll see as this race goes on, as we just got a couple of guys out on track just testing the track settings at the moment. They should all be on super softs unless one of them wants to go on softs and make sure they can push for the whole race. Just waiting for them to start the race. Hopefully we'll get going in a bit, because it is getting late, and the guys will be wanting to start as Brian actually starts the race now. So we've got 5 seconds to go till the sprint race, which I think will be entertaining, because there'll be a few guys that were sort of on the same pace in that last sort of 5 laps of the race. So hopefully we don't see any big gaps like we've seen in our first race. Obviously it's a bit harder to have a battle on the first couple of laps with the rolling start, but a few of the guys might get a better start than the others, but we shall see. Brian's going to lead them away. A few of the guys at the back, especially Lewis and Adam, might find themselves starting this race actually in the chicane, which will actually cause them a bit of a compromise when they get onto the straight, because they might find the guys in front are actually away and gone down the straight. They're just coming out of it now, so they're going to get a little bit better run, but Brian leads them across the line now. A bit of tyre smoke as he leads them away, and it's actually compromised his start, and Real Osman's gaining on him. But it looks like Frowney's had a great start there in 3rd place, and he actually gains on the pair of them. Brian leads in the first corner. Osman just chucks it in, actually runs at the back of Brian. I think Frowney does the same. A little bit of a Constantina effect there as the guys follow each other into that corner. Looks like Adams dropped to the back of the grid, and he's actually off at the first corner. Vulcan finds himself in 7th place. Rossi with a little bit of a gap out in front now, as Osman tries to keep Inca Holmes and Frowney behind him. Frowney all over the back of Osman as they go down at this next sequence of corners, and Moz up into 4th place, Luke C into 5th, Vulcan up there in 6th. Inca Holmes has lost a few positions. He's actually off there at the back there, and Adam Piper's come through. So Osman now loses Frowney and Moz, and actually tries to have a go at Brian on this next sequence. Not quite close enough at the minute. Gains a little bit mid-corner there, but Brian was around the same pace as Osman in the last few laps of that race, so we'll see what these two do in this race. But 10 laps is this sprint race, and it looks like Brian's going to lead for the first lap. Osman just gains on him a little bit into 130 yard, gets a good tow, chucks the car in, has the outside line for the final chicane, but not close enough. Might have had a little bit of a dive there on the inside, but Brian had the car in the middle of the track, so he's not going to get past there, and Brian crosses the line, and he's led a lap at the start of this race. So Brian, with a great first lap, kept his position, manages to defend. He's got a little bit of work to do to see Vulcan. Oh, Brian, commentator's curse has gone off into gravel. So Brian, after leading that first lap, finds himself in second place, and we just see Lewis is already into third place, so he's really worked himself through. He's going to go around the outside of Brian, and that's easy enough for him. So Lewis already in second place now after starting from the back of the grid. Adam Piper has managed to work his way up into sixth. It looks like a few of the guys have had a couple of incidents. Someone's way off at the back there. That looks like Stu Shelton again. But Lewis actually makes a mistake, goes off the track, and Brian gains a little bit on him. Real Osman's 2.5 seconds up the road. Brian has a look at the back of Lewis, can't quite get it done. Lewis has a wiggle as he came out. Brian gets a nice exit. He might actually have a look at the championship leader here. Brian's had a great start this race, and now he's having a look at the championship leader. He's going to go to the outside. Can't quite get the move done. Lewis defends the inside. Brian has to back out of it. Oh, and there's Osman spinning round. So Osman was in the lead of this race, and now down into fifth after that spin. Now Lewis finds himself pretty easily up into first place, and I bet he wasn't expecting this start at lap 2 as they come round to finish lap 2, and he's already up into first place. Brian's still there in second place, being chased by the two guys behind him. Frowney's actually worked his way past Moz, so Moz has actually made a mistake in that last chicane. Frowney and Brian only 0.6 of a second off Lewis at the moment, so he might have a little bit of a go here, Brian, but we've seen how Lewis was quick enough in that first race to get a good gap. Frowney there in third place as well. Frowney's just dropped back quite a bit now. I don't know if he's waiting for Moz, but he has dropped back by quite a lot, or he's made a mistake. We see Inco Holmes has set the fastest lap of the race of a 1:40.7. He's in 8th place. It looks like this sprint race has been a little bit scruffy from the guys so far. Nobody's really settled into a rhythm yet. Everyone seems to be having a few offs, but looks like Lewis is starting to get into that rhythm now. He's got the gap up to 1.5 seconds on this lap, as we see the two teammates fighting over third place as they came in there. And Adam Piper's back up in the fight now. So Adam Piper, after dropping down, has found himself in 4th behind the two teammates, and will these two try and help each other out? Moz definitely wants to be finishing ahead of Adam if he wants to try and get that second place in the championship. Might be a bit out of his reach now with Adam finishing ahead of him in that feature race, but still wanting to finish ahead of him. Frowney just ahead of there in third, giving his teammate a little bit of a tow, but in turn Adam's getting a better tow off the pair of them. Frowney just loses a bit on the brakes there, as Moz was quite late on the brakes there. Osman in 6th there, was leading this race, find himself still there in 6th. So Moz pulls the inside of his teammate. Frowney doesn't fight him too hard, lets him go, pulls the car in behind. Is now Adam Piper has a different blue car to look at. Oh, he nearly runs at the back of them there. Carried quite a lot of speed compared to Dino. Dino's actually off into gravel, so Dino tries to save it. He does, pulls out. Oh, and he's spun round as well. So dirty tyres there from Dino. He's down to 7th. Just needs to be a bit calmer rejoining the track, which he does there now, and he falls to the back of the grid, and we see Stu Shelton's actually left again. Luke C's up there in 6th now. Osman up into 5th. Adam Piper in 4th, chasing down Moz for that 3rd place. Brian Ross 5 seconds up the road, still in 2nd. So if he can get this pace, 1:40.4 in that last lap, so if he can keep this pace, he should have enough in hand to sort of take at least a podium, whether it's his second place or third place. He's got a decent enough gap at the moment. If them two behind start fighting, which it looks like they might do, as Adam's just a little bit off Moz at the moment, but he will gain from the toe. Gap just goes down a little bit to Brian now. It's 4.8 seconds. Lewis is already 5.5 seconds up the road with a 37 on that last lap. Brian just drops a little bit of time on that last lap. We're seeing Moz 2 seconds quicker now, so Brian might struggle to keep that position after Moz finds a 39.0 from somewhere. Adam with a 39.5. Real Osman 41.1. Luke C just a little bit off that. The rest of the guys are sort of out there having a battle. Frowney looks like he's going to have a battle with Inca Holmes as he gets it nice and tidy through that first and second corner. Halfway through this sprint race already, so this race is creeping up on us, and a few of these guys have still got battles to settle. So Osman cuts a little bit of the corner there. Doesn't quite get the apex on the next corner. Adam only 0.7 of a second off third place. Meanwhile, they're both gaining on Brian Ross at the same time. Moz has used all of his overtake already, and so has Adam. Brian has a little bit left, and he's set a 1:40.8 on that last lap, so he's still setting sort of his own race pace. And it looks like Vulcan's actually had an off on that last lap, because the gap's gone down to 1.8 seconds. Yeah, he's 5 seconds off his previous time. So I wonder what's happened to Lewis on that last lap. We were concentrating on a few battles. I thought he would just storm out in front, and he's actually had an incident. He's 1.9 seconds ahead of Brian now. So Brian comes across the line again to 39s. Oh, just doesn't with a 40.0. Lewis with a 43.6, so he has lost a bit of time there. Moz comes across the line with a 39.4, 39.3 for Adam, so they're still not going quick enough to catch Brian before the end of this race, but they are reeling him in. Brian 4 seconds ahead, so he's got 4 laps, and as long as they don't take a second a lap off him, then he should be alright to finish in second place. Osman just in 5th, just a little bit off their pace at the moment. Meanwhile, Luke C's catching him for 5th place there. Inca Holmes has pulled a little bit on Frowney. Frowney's with 4.92.3 in that last lap, so not his quickest lap that we've seen in the feature race. He's a little bit off in this lap, but Inca Holmes actually goes purple in that first sector, so he looks like he's on a good lap at the moment. Luke C gains a little bit more time there. Real Osman in 5th. Adam in 4th has dropped off the back of Moz to the point where the gap's actually 4.7 seconds. And Brian's actually pulled a little bit on the pair of them. That gap back up to 5 seconds now, so Brian definitely on for a podium finish here. Going a 10th quicker in that middle sector, so he's definitely on for a 39 on this lap. Gets the car nice and tidy, no sliding through the last chicane, a little bit off the limiter there, so he might lose a bit of time on the exit. But 39.9 from Brian, so he dips into the 39s. Vulcan back with a 37.7 just to respond to that last lap incident. Moz with a 40.8, so yeah, second slower than what Brian managed. Adam with a 44.3, and then the gap behind. Luke C's really caught up on Osman. Oh, he runs in the back of Osman. Needs to be careful, because it's a couple of times where he's got the first corner wrong and ended up ramming someone off the track. Luckily Osman managed to get the car slowed down. So Luke C just needs to take it a bit more cautious in this race. It's good to have a side-by-side battle, but he just needs to be a little bit easier on his overtakes. He doesn't need to rush into an overtake. He tries the outside line there. Osman cuts across the middle of the track and manages to defend that position. But that gap's definitely coming down, and they're actually not that far off Adam Piper in front either. Though as Adam Piper actually goes off the track, so we see another off there from one of the leaders. Adam Piper, second in the championship, down to 6th again in this race, as we're on lap 7 at the moment. So Osman finds himself in 4th. Moz just rails Brian a little bit in on this lap, about half a second he's gained on this lap, so that gap down to 4.3 seconds. Brian, see what he does across the line, just dips out of the 41s he's in now, 41.8 on my screen. Vulcan still 38.2, so still quite a bit quicker than everybody else. As he'll be pretty happy with a few of his championship rivals just struggling a bit. You see Moz in 3rd, he's close, but we see Luke C got a 0.9 second time penalty and has actually gained the position on Osman. Meanwhile Adam Piper, we were talking about the faster guys struggling in the sprint race, he's down to 6th. Inca Holmes in 7th, Frowney down there in 8th. He's not having a good race this time around. He's back in the 41s however. Inca Holmes still a second quicker than him at the moment. Adam Piper's last 2 laps have been quite a bit slower than what he's normally setting. Real Osman in there 5th. He's actually going to have some defending to do now. He was attacking and having a battle with Luke, but he's defending from Adam. He cuts to the middle of the track. Adam might get a little bit of a better exit here. Luke's in front of the 0.8 of a penalty. So Adam gains a bit on the toe. Osman, neither of them's got any overtake left, so it's just going to be down to who is quicker. And Adam dives to the inside and gets that manoeuvre done. Real Osman has to settle in behind. Car takes him a little bit wider than what he wanted to there. He might get a little bit of a toe off the back of Adam's car, but it won't be close enough to pull him in for a move down as fine as chicane. Got Luke there still in 4th, but with a little bit of a penalty that he's going to have to lose, or else it'll round it up before the end of the race, and he doesn't want to be losing more time than what he's already losing. Moz on his own in 3rd. He's starting to really reel in Brian Ross. Brian Ross has only got 2 more laps to go before he gets his first podium. The gap's now 2.8 seconds, so all he's got to do is just keep it nice and tidy for the next 2 laps, and he should be alright. He needs to maybe dip into the 140s just to be sure. If he stays in the 141s, I feel that Moz might be able to get him before the end of this race. Vulcan's 12 seconds in the lead now, so doesn't need to worry about going forward, just needs to keep it nice and tidy. We see Moz comes into view there, really flying into hairpin. Goes wide, so that'll help Brian out, but Moz might get a little bit of a better exit. He does. The exit's actually helped him out there. So Brian has only got 1.5 laps to sort of try and keep the 2nd place. He might have some defending to do on the final lap, but it'll be worth it if he can keep the position. So that gap down to 1.5 seconds now. Brian hasn't got long to go. Lost 1.6 seconds on his best lap, so he needs to try and get that back. He's used a bit more fuel than what Moz has. Moz has got a little bit of a penalty to try and worry about there, but it's not too much. Meanwhile the gap 4th and 5th's on. Real Osman has to go to the outside of the chicane. Luke C defends in the middle of the road. Osman tries to take around the outside. Luke C slides in front of him. So that battle's starting to heat up now, and Adam Piper might come back into this. Osman gets a little bit of a toe. Oh, and Moz has managed to get the position. We've not seen that on the track, but Moz has got the position from Brian. Brian's still going to find himself in 3rd, so he's still going to have a podium. But it looks like Brian went a little bit wide in that first corner as we went on board. So unfortunately he isn't going to get that 2nd place, but he's still going to get a podium. Luke C is back into 4th place after defending from Osman, but Adam Piper's going to attack Osman, so Luke C might not have to worry about anything from behind, but it definitely looks like Osman's going to have to worry about Adam Piper as he takes a lot of the track there. I'm not surprised if he gets track limits, but he definitely gets track limits for that as he goes off into gravel. Adam Piper just swoops on by. So Adam Piper takes that 5th position. He's had a bit of a up and down race as Adam after finishing 2nd. But let's go on board with our double race winner. Got a little bit of a penalty at the end, but to 18 seconds in this sprint race. So Lewis comes across the line, double winner. Moz, that's 2nd place on the last lap. But let's go on board with Brian. His first podium of the season. I think he'll be pretty happy with this. In fact, I know he'll be happy with this. So let's watch Brian come across the line. Well done to Brian, 3rd place. Luke C, another 4th place finish. So Luke C really quick again in this race. Adam got close to him in the end. Osman comes across the line to finish 6th. Inca Holmes there in 7th, so he gets some good points on the board again. Frowny not happy in 8th. Another bit of a tough race for him. A couple of guys actually had penalties towards the end there, so a few of the guys didn't manage to get rid of them before the checkered flag fell. So you see there from Lewis, 7 positions, and he was actually up to 3rd by I think lap 3 and leading by lap 4, so a really good race there from Lewis. 2 race wins, 2 races dominated as well. The first race he obviously started from pole position and had to battle for it, but the 2nd race was most impressed with. Definitely impressed with him finishing 1st after starting at the back of the grid. Unfortunately, Stu Shelton, not a good week from Stu Shelton. 2 DNFs and pretty tough races from him. But yeah, Brian Ross finishing there in 3rd place, so really well done from Brian there. Definitely deserved it. Obviously I thought he might have got that 2nd place, but just a couple of slower laps just let him down towards the end, but still to get a podium, his 1st of the season, he'll be pretty happy with that. I'd like to see what the stewards think about a couple of Luke's moves, but the one with Osman wasn't so bad because Osman never went off the track, but the one with Stu Shelton in the 1st race, I feel there might be something done about that, but we'll wait and find out, and the last round we'll have some news on that. But yeah, hopefully we'll see Ethan back for the last round. A couple of the other guys maybe come back for the last round. I'm not sure where it is yet, but we'll 2 weeks time hopefully we have another good race, and I think we'll have a championship winner. My guess it is going to be Lewis because he's just too quick. Just his 1 lap pace is just too quick, so that's my prediction anyway. But we'll see you all for the last round. But for now, it's been a good race. 2 races, a little bit boring in the first race towards the end, but yeah, the sprint race was a bit manic. So for now, that's all we've got time for. I'll see you at the last round.